I've been curious since I've been editing your videos. Are most of your parts sponsored, or does that kind of come out of your pocket, or how do the parts work? Because trucks don't seem very cheap. I mean, maybe maybe compared to like the newer trucks, but it seems like an expensive project to build a truck from scratch. So, how do you get those parts, and are most of them sponsored?
Yeah, it's that's a hard question to answer. It depends on the parts, it depends on the company. What I found is the companies that are really good quality, have really good reputation, aren't necessarily in need of my marketing. They already have built a name for themselves. So with those
Gotcha.
companies, I'm typically okay getting some type of discount. And I tell them up front, like, if you can't sponsor the part, I'm still going to buy the part from you because I support your brand. Your brand aligns with my values. So I'm just asking, what can you do to make this easier for me? Then there's other companies that I'm trying to think how to classify them that have kind of random stuff that I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought of that about that. Maybe I'll try that. For example, in a recent video, I installed a wall mounted vacuum, like a shop
Hmm.
vac. And that's nothing I would have gone out and sought out and thought, oh, I could totally use that. I'm going to pay full price for this. It's something I saw on Instagram and I was like, huh, that's kind of cool. So I messaged them on Instagram and we came up with a deal where they sent me the product and I had to do a couple what we call deliverables, whether that's a YouTube mention in a video, a YouTube short, an Instagram reel, an Instagram story. Those are deliverables, and so we came up with an agreement of what I wanted to provide for them. Sometimes it's kind of a crapshoot because you don't know what the product's going to be like. Actually, that vacuum, I thought it was going to be pretty hokey, but it turned out to
Hmm.
be really cool. But you never know that, and so you agree to do all this stuff. So it's hard to if you get a product that you're like, oh, this is kind of cheap and this isn't something I would use, it's hard to genuinely go out there and market for it. And so
Hmm.
there's some nuances with that process that are a little bit difficult. But for the most part, it just depends on the product, depends on, is it directly into your niche or is it just something cool you want to try? And I actually have a spreadsheet that I keep track of all the companies I work with and I classify them into different classifications as far as what my relationship with them really is.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I was actually going to ask you if it was, difficult to manage all of these different kind of companies that you're talking to. But that spreadsheet sounds like it'd be really nice. Have you worked with any sponsorships or discounts, I guess, that have been difficult? Like you wouldn't work with them again, kind of a thing? Or has it been pretty smooth
The
sailing?
timing of this question is impeccable, Spencer, because
Oh, yeah.
the answer to that yesterday would have been, yeah, there's companies that are difficult, but never anything I can't handle. The answer to that question this morning is I emailed a company this morning and said, please send me an invoice for the product and consider our relationship mutually ended. I actually really like the product. It was good
Hmm.
quality, but they were on me and on me and on me about what I was putting out as far as content goes. I was meeting what I said I would do, but they were saying, no, that's not good enough. You need to re-edit the video, but the video was already published. Like, and on YouTube, you can't
Mm,
just re-edit a video.
right.
And so they were being kind of a pain about it. And it was a $250 part, which, 5 years ago, that would have been huge. At this point, where I'm at, that's not that big of a deal. And
Hmm.
so I will continue to use their parts. I'll just pay for them though. It's not worth dealing with. It seems like someone who doesn't understand social media very well, who's in charge of their marketing. And I try and explain companies that you can tell me to do an unboxing video and a review and a comparison to the other products, but you can go on YouTube and that's what everyone and their dog does with these products. Or you can trust me that I know what I'm doing and I know how to connect with my audience and I know what they want to see and let me have the freedom to do that. And it will work out well for you. It's just not going to be the textbook way that other people do it.
Right. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
Another good example is about a year ago, I had a company send me an electric scooter and they wanted the same thing. They wanted me to unbox it and show all the features. And an electric scooter on a diesel truck channel will not do well. People won't watch
Hmm.
the video. If it shows up in the middle of a video, they'll click off of it. And so, from a marketing standpoint, that's a dead end for them. And I told them that. And I said, I won't do a dedicated video. I won't do like a review within the video, but give me some creative freedom and trust me, you'll like what you get. And they took a leap of faith and let me do it. And I don't know if you remember that, but I made kind of this
Hmm.
meme-ish segment in a video that paid homage to some pop culture memes here and there, and it did really well. The retention didn't drop off for that segment. I was still able to show the features of the scooter. I was still able to show me using it. I was able to actually, use it and be excited about it because it was really fun to film that. And so it did well, and they appreciated that.
That's awesome. So a lot of our listeners are either, YouTubers like you, or people wanting to start a YouTube channel. So do you have any advice to other people about working with, I guess, sponsorships for YouTube videos?
Yeah, great question. My advice, so always have your email address in the description of every video. That's where probably 90% of sponsors come from, is
Oh,
random
interesting.
random emails from those companies. Now, starting out, it's emails from companies across seas with broken English. It's usually in my niche with automotive. It's usually jump starter packs or different types of lights, things like that. So you'll get inundated with stuff like that. But you do have to pay
Hmm.
attention because in 20 of those emails, you'll find one that you're like, oh, that's actually a legit offer. And so that's the best advice I would say is have an email address for your channel in the description of your videos. And then the other thing is be willing to put yourself out there. If you're on Instagram or on Amazon or just on Google looking at products and you see something you like, if you have the time to wait for that negotiation process, reach out to them, send them an email and say, hey, this is what I do. I'd love to use your product and demonstrate it. Is there something we can work out? That negotiation process could take days to weeks. So if you need that product soon, that's probably not viable. But if you can have enough forethought to know you're going to need it, in the future, then you can go through that process. And so there's a lot of things where I'm like, man, I could totally probably get this sponsored. I could reach out to the company, but I need it quicker than that. And so I'm just going to pay for it. And
Hmm.
so it's a hard balance to strike, but be willing to reach out to companies. You'll get shut down a lot, but you just can't let that get at you. And you can't lose your confidence over getting some rejections because there's a lot of companies that they're like, oh, we don't do anything with YouTube, but sure, we'll give you a 10% discount. And that can be significant sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting that you mentioned that people don't do, or I guess companies don't sponsor YouTube. I've heard that a lot from a couple of different creators, and it just blows my mind. I feel like
oh,
YouTube
yeah.
is like the best place to advertise because there's so many people on it. And, you know, for example, like my wife watches these makeup YouTubers, and she's been watching them for like a decade. And it's like she trusts that person. And so when they recommend a product, it's like, oh, yeah, I definitely want to try that because I trust you
Yeah.
as a content creator. So, it blows my mind that some companies don't advertise on YouTube.
Because as a creator, you build this core foundational audience and fans, I guess you could call it. And so, marketing to a fan is way more valuable than blanket or shotgun marketing to the whole world.
Hmm.
So these companies that pay to run ads on Facebook that are supposedly targeted based on algorithms and stuff, they can do okay, but without having someone behind that ad who that person who sees the ad trusts, saying that they use the product or they endorse the product or they like the product, not having that is huge. Is a huge misstep for those companies. So having someone that can tell people that trust them that they like the product is very valuable.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.